Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience with the Toronto Blue Jays. Before I get into that, just a little housekeeping. If you would like to go on vacation, specifically a cruise, which is my specialty, or you'd like to go see a game such as the Toronto Blue Jays, you can reach out to me in a couple ways and I'd be more than happy to help you out. One of the ways is through social media. I have an Instagram and Facebook account. Both of them are the same, Jay's Paradise Travels, Jays. There's no apostrophe in there, just Jay's Paradise Travels. Again, that's on Instagram and Facebook. Or if you'd like to email me, I have an email address, j.paradise_travels@gmail.com. And that's Jay. So again, if you'd like to go somewhere, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you out. You can reach out to me one of those two ways. All right, so let's talk about my experience with the Toronto Blue Jays. When I sit down and try to decide what team I'll talk about, what game I've been to, or whatever my next podcast episode is going to be. Sometimes it's random, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes there is. My previous one that I just did was my experience with the Ottawa Senators, which is another Canadian team. So I guess I'm going in line with the Canadian team theme. I still have one other team that I've seen before as well in Canada, the Montreal Canadiens. The rest of the Canadian teams I still need to go see. Um, but I don't have a Montreal Canadiens shirt yet, so I don't know if that's going to be my next podcast. Probably not. But for this one, I figured to go along with that Canadian theme, I'll talk about my experience with the Toronto Blue Jays. There's still a couple teams in Toronto I still need to go see, the Maple Leafs and the Raptors. But I have seen the Blue Jays. I want to talk about them and tell you about my experience with them. So, in a way, I don't know if you listen to the Ottawa Senator podcast. There's somewhat of a similarity, not only just Canada, but some years ago, I had met some friends that were in Ottawa, and I tried to reach out to them to see if I could stay with them. Didn't quite work out, and that's okay. But in that same time frame that I met those friends, I met some other friends from Toronto, and one friend of ours, her name is Tracy. She lives there, but she also will be in other areas of the country, or not the country, or in the world, like South America, from time to time too. And so we reached out to her to see if we could, maybe get together with her, stay with her, and she was willing to. She had, I guess you could say, kind of like a roommate with her at the time too, um, that was visiting her, but was from South America, and I think they kind of lived together down there too as well. That roommate has since then gotten married, which happy for her. Anyway, so we reached out to her, and she was nice enough to let us stay with her, and both of them were going to go to the game with us, so there was four of us all together. Um, and at the time, I actually was working for the airline, so I didn't drive to Canada. I actually flew over there, and we flew into Toronto. And it was interesting that when we were communicating with her, it was all through like Instagram. And I guess I never got her number, but we got each other's Instagram handles, and we were communicating that way. And so it's kind of funny, like when we got there, we had to like take some sort of train or tram or subway system or something to get to somewhere else, and that's where uh, she and her friend picked us up. Um, so when you go to a different country and you got to do all that type of stuff, it's a little nerve wracking, but it all worked out, and it actually ended up being a lot more simpler than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't too complicated, and sure enough, they picked us up, and everything was just fine. From there, um, after she picked us up, I know I think at one point we went back to her little apartment that she has and got her, situated with that. And also we did a little bit of driving around the city too. And I had been to Toronto a handful of times growing up. We would go out there. I remember a long time ago, even getting to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame out there. That was really cool. Maybe I'll go there again one day. We'll see. But um, Toronto is a nice place to visit, and it's not too far from Detroit. Maybe like a 4 to 5 hour drive. But at the time, I had flying benefits, so get there in less than an hour. It's a little bit easier. Uh, so, anyways, Toronto was a nice place. But so we got to drive around. It had been a long time since I'd been in Toronto, and I don't know if Selena had ever been at that point. So being able to drive around and see some of the city was pretty cool in itself. I know we eventually parked and got to the game. And we walked up. There were a lot of people there, and it was a nice day. And Toronto's a nice city, pretty clean, and not a lot of crime from what I could tell. So that's nice, and appreciated that. And of course, as I went around, I took my exterior shots that I like to do. I remember there was something kind of unique with this ballpark that they had. It was like these statues of fans watching a ball game, and I've never seen that before. That was kind of cool. And outside the stadium, obviously a lot of people as I'm walking around. They had like hot dog vendors, and I can't remember if we did get a hot dog or not. We might have got something to eat. But a lot of people. I just remember a big lot of people, and they obviously must really love their Toronto Blue Jays out there. This was I want to say this was like a Thursday night game. This was like back in 2016. Um, and for that, I mean, they still had a pretty good crowd. When we were going in, we were amongst a big group of people. Sometimes you go to a baseball game, there's hardly anybody there. Even especially during the week, maybe on the weekend it'll get a little bit more packed, but during the week it might not be as bad. But here it was, so they must really love their baseball team. I mean, I know they're diehard, love their hockey team, the Maple Leafs, but it looked like they kind of love their baseball team as well. And what's kind of cool with it is it's right next to the CN Tower too, and got to take some pictures of that as well before, as well as after the game too. Kind of was lit up at night, and so that was pretty cool. And I really appreciated being able to be inside, and it ended up okay. So the stadium, I guess I'm gonna be talking about the stadium first. A lot of times I'll kind of save that for last. I guess I'm starting it first. The stadium itself is a dome stadium, which is kind of cool, but it also uh, is retractable. Not all domes are retractable. Good amount are, and it's kind of nice because with baseball, if it rains or has bad weather, you can close the dome. Last year when I went to Milwaukee, they had their dome closed, and it was good because it was a rainy day out. This was actually a nice, beautiful night. But to be able to, where we were at, our seats were kind of like in the upper deck. Um, with that, and we were behind home plate, and to be able to have um, that dome opened and being able to see out in the night sky, it was just beautiful. It was really cool. I really liked that. And again, the CN Tower was nearby, so I really appreciate it. That was a pretty awesome experience with that. The view from where we were sitting there. And when we went there, we got there. It was during the daytime, so it was light out. But by the end of the game, it started day and ended night. So I got to see both the view from the day and the view from the night. They both were, I thought, really nice views. So, anyways, going back to uh, the game itself. Um, well, I'll start back. So we got in. Let me go back to the beginning there. So we got there. Big crowd of people. We get in, and I'm excited to be there as always. Always excited to be at a game. And um, our before the game had started, we had went down. We were like on the third base line near the very end, close to where out in the outfield, third base line. And we went down near the front, and we were just kind of watching warm ups, and that was pretty cool. Um, and eventually, the game was going to start, and we were kind of trying to see if we could like stay down there. And the usher was actually kind of cool about it for the most part, as long as there wasn't anyone sitting there or whatever. But every time we kind of find somewhere to be, maybe someplace to sit, someone came, and we kept bouncing around. But I get a little nervous with that when I'm not in my right seat. Um, I don't know. And it's happened before. And it's, sometimes not that big a deal. Maybe you're a row or two or a seat or two, whatever. But, I don't know, having to move or whatever just gets kind of, I don't know, a little frustrating or annoying. So um, I think after a while, I was like, all right, well, our seats are up there. So eventually we stopped trying to bounce around and we just went up to our seats up in the upper deck. And I mean, I like the view up there too. It is cool to be up close. I won't, don't get me wrong. When if you're up close and you get to see people, they're bigger, and you get to see like the full uh, effect of the field or the arena or whatever, that's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. But but when you're up high too, I mean, you do get to see the entire game pretty nicely as well. So I don't mind being in the upper area. Plus, it's usually less expensive, so they're kind of both nice. We went back up there, and like I said, I really liked the view from where we were at too. Not only of just the field, being able to see everything, but also with the retractable stadium roof that was open to be able to see outside. It was really nice. The game itself was a pretty tight game too. They were playing the Detroit Tigers. Now, I may have mentioned this before, or I probably have, but usually when I go to a ball game, I'm usually rooting for the home team, unless they're playing one of my home teams from Detroit, and then I'm not. And this was one of the times that I had actually seen, um, a team, but they were playing one of my teams. We had gotten this shirt. This was like a giveaway, which was kind of cool. I've had it for a long time, and I'm wearing it for the podcast now. It's probably been sitting in my closet for years, never been worn. Because at the time when I was there, I was wearing my Detroit Tigers shirt. I wasn't wearing a Toronto Blue Jays shirt, but I ended up keeping it. Um, and I even thought about, if and when I eventually go back to see like the Maple Leafs or the Raptors, I might as well just wear this because it is Toronto. Um, and that could still be the case, or I might just go buy, a shirt that says the Maple Leafs or Raptors on it because eventually I'll be doing a podcast about it too. We'll see what happens with that. Anyways, they were playing the Detroit Tigers, so I wasn't a Toronto Blue Jays fan for a day. Like normally I would be if they weren't playing. I was a Detroit Tigers fan, and Toronto jumped off to a 2-0 lead at the end of the first inning. All right, whatever. And the crowd was into it too. And again, I appreciate a lively atmosphere. I appreciate fans getting into it. Again, this is like a Thursday night game or something to that effect, and and for them to be that into it on a Thursday night game, says a lot. Uh, but Upton did hit a home run in the second to at least cut the lead to 2-1. All right, Tigers on the board. All right, not too bad. Ended up the Tigers ended up getting a couple more runs in the fourth inning, which was nice. So they actually ended up taking um, another a first lead. They had another home run. Castellanos hit a home run, and they were able to take a 3-2 lead going all the way into the seventh, where they scored another run. Each team scored a run in the seventh. Tigers in the top of the inning, Blue Jays in the bottom of the inning. So still a one-run game. Continuing forward, going into the late innings. But Toronto ended up pulling off a couple runs in the bottom of the eighth to take a 5-4 lead. And it's like, oh, okay, great, Tigers. You only got one chance to come back, and sure enough, they did not do that. And the Toronto Blue Jays won 5-4 over the Detroit Tigers. Well, the Toronto fans were happy. I was disappointed. Not mad or upset, but I was disappointed. I do remember though at one point it was like bases loaded, one out. Tigers, were batting, and whether or not this was in the top of the ninth, I don't remember exactly when in the game, but I called it, and I was speaking it out loud too. I'm like, this is what's going to happen. This dude's going to strike out. Next guy's going to come to the plate. He's going to hit some sort of ridiculous ground ball that's going to be, um, you know, he'll thrown out, and they're going to come away with no runs out of this. And that is exactly what happened. I mean, exactly. And even the guy, I wasn't even talking to the guy, but there was like a guy in front of me. As I said, I was like speaking this out loud, probably to either my friends or Selena or whoever. Um, and the guy, was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you called that one." Like, "Yep, I know it. I've seen it. I just know what happens." and I knew that that was going to happen. Sure enough, it did. The Tigers, oh man, the Tigers. The Tigers. I have never seen a World Series in my lifetime. The last time they won a World Series was in '84. I was born like a week later. So I've never had a Tigers World Series in my life. It has always been disappointing that every year, no. Now they've gone to the World Series a couple times in my lifetime. They've gone in 2006, in 2012. They lose to the Cardinals. They get swept by the Giants, and that's it. They've made the playoffs a few times too, as well. They've had some good teams, and they were on top of the division. Um, but then they just don't win it all. So in 2016, I think they were still kind of in that era where they were still doing well. They were still a good winning ball club. But even with that, I had a feeling they weren't going to win it. And I had a feeling at that exact moment what was going to happen. They're going to strike out and then ground out. They're going to come away with no points, and it's going to affect them. And that's exactly what happened. They struck out, grounded out, no points, and of course they lose by 1 run. If they would have done something with that, if they would have taken advantage of bases loaded with only one out and actually got a run or two out of that, then maybe you wouldn't lose the game. Oh well, whatever. I'm not bitter. Not bitter. Just saying. That was years ago, but at the time it was frustrating, right? Yeah. So, and then I looked it up. That was the first game of a 4-game series that they had with Toronto, and Toronto won 3 out of 4. I think that was a Thursday. So Saturday, the game 3 was when Detroit finally won a game. Too bad we didn't go to that one. Oh well, what can you do? And this is kind of one of the reasons why, again, I would rather not see my Detroit teams. Um, and there's a lot of people that like to go. They kind of have a similar hobby to me. I've talked to people. They'll have a similar hobby to me, and they'll like to go see different baseball stadiums, for instance, or whatever. And or they're talking about like, oh, we'll go see the Tigers play, or go see the Red Wings play over there, or whatever. They'll mention a home team. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. If it happens, great, but I'd rather not. I actually would rather not, because then I can enjoy being a part of the home atmosphere. So when the home team is scoring and the crowd is into it and they're going nuts and having fun, I can be a part of that crowd. I can be a part of the lively, electrifying atmosphere, as opposed to all this electricity is going on, all this great atmosphere, and I'm in a bad mood because it happened against my home team that I want to see them win and not, you know. So I'd rather not see. Now, if like I said, if it happens, it's just circumstances. Yeah, looking at schedules, and that's what I can make. That's what can happen. All right, fine, whatever. I'll do it. I'm still seeing the stadium. I'm still getting to see the home team play in their stadium. I'm just not rooting for them. But if it happens, it happens. But if I can do it where the Detroit team is not there, that's fine. And I have seen all the Detroit teams and Michigan Wolverines play on the road. So there was some I did want to do. I did want to experience at least once, and I have with all teams. Um, so now that I have, I'm not exactly gunning for it. I'd rather it be just them not there, and I can root for the home team. Let's see here. So I'm looking at my notes here. Anything else I wanted to mention here? Oh, yeah, the name of it. So it's okay. So the name of this stadium is called the Rogers Center. Apparently, there's another Rogers Center in Ottawa, but that's not where the Ottawa Senators play. The Ottawa Senators play at they call it the Canadian Tire Center, and I guess the Rogers Center out there might be for something else, maybe for business or something. I don't know. So there is a Rogers Center in Ottawa, so not to be confused. But this Rogers Center is where the Toronto Blue Jays play. Apparently used to be called the Sky Dome, which I think is a pretty cool name, actually. Sky Dome. I like that name. I kind of wish it would have stuck with that. But right now, I mean, that's just kind of the way it is with stadiums and arenas and ballparks and everything. It's some corporate name, you know, to get the money in it. Not all of them, and I appreciate the ones that aren't. You know, like Yankee Stadium's Yankee Stadium. It's not. I don't know. Like the crosstown team, the Mets, is City Park after the bank, City, but the Yankees are Yankee Stadium. So you know, you got the team name on it. Some are the state or the you know like Michigan Stadium. This Michigan Stadium, the state name. Um, Fenway Park. You know, that's not. I don't know what Fenway is. I never even looked it up. What is Fenway a company? I don't know. Some companies are all right. Some companies roll off the tongue, like Wrigley Field. Like that's been around a long time. Wrigley obviously is the gum, but I hear Wrigley Field, I'll be honest, I'm not thinking of the gum. I'm thinking of the ballpark, and that kind of rolls off the tongue. Some of them roll off the tongue nice. Some of them don't at all. Rogers Center, I guess, is okay, um, but I think I like the name Sky Dome better. I kind of wish it would go back to that. It won't. I know it won't. Not that I'm a Blue Jays fan anyway. It's not like I'm going there or anything or having that much experience with it. But I like those names. I don't. I could do without all the corporate names all the time. And apparently, so they had a a Canadian Football League team that used to play there too. The Argonauts used to play there. I don't think they play there anymore. Not sure where they play now, but I don't think because when I looked it up, it said previously the Argonauts used to play there. So I guess it used to be somewhere that they did it as well. I did see this stadium a long time ago. No, so we went and saw this in 2016, this game. And years ago, I want to say within the first year or two of our marriage, we did like this bus tour to Toronto, Canada, saw a lot of different things. And I remember on the bus tour, when we were exiting Toronto and heading back to Michigan, we drove by the stadium. Again, it's the stadium and the CN Tower right next to it. And it's really cool being able to see them both the same. And we drove by it, so of course I got excited, like, oh, there's the stadium. Whether or not I took pictures that day or not, I can't remember, but I was pretty excited. So it was for a while there. It was one of the stadiums that I've seen with my physical eyes. I've just never been to a game. And my hobby is to go to a game with the home team playing. And I say that caveat because sometimes a stadium might have, like football stadiums, for instance, might have uh, a neutral site game or a bowl game or something being played. Uh, so you know, I'm uh, I'm not looking to go see those. Now, if I'm there and someone gets tickets or it works out, okay, great. But that's not my official hobby. My official hobby is to see the home team play a game in that stadium. So if I go by a stadium, I'm excited about it, and I might even take a picture of it, just in passing. So I'm cool that I've actually set my eyes on this building, and there's quite a handful of stadiums that I've seen with my physical eyes, but I have not gone to a game yet. Um, and the Toronto Blue Jays Rogers Center was one of those stadiums for a while there. It was something that I had seen driving by. We were in a bus, got to see it, but I hadn't gone to a game yet. So my hobby isn't just to see a stadium, drive by it, take a picture. That's not the hobby. And my hobby is not to just go to a game in that stadium as if it was, a neutral site game, a bowl game, or something like that. My hobby is to go to a game in that stadium with the home team, whoever stadium that is, go there. Some share it. For instance, I'll have to. Uh, there's plenty of basketball teams and hockey teams that share stadiums. Philadelphia, for instance, is one. I'll have to do a podcast on them one day. And even Toronto, at the Blue Jays, the Maple Leafs and the Raptors, they share Air Canada Center. Um, so there are plenty of teams that do that. And so even with my hobby, it wouldn't be just to see one of those teams. It would be to see both of those teams. And that's what I try to do if I can. Philadelphia, I was able to do it once, seeing the Flyers and the 76ers on the same day. I'll have to talk about that in another podcast. New York's another example. Madison Square Garden. The Rangers and the Knicks both play at Madison Square Garden. Just to give you an idea. Um, my hobby again to go see it. I was able to see it, and then years later, I was able to go and catch a game at the Rogers Center. Um, yeah, let's see here. Anything else? I guess I covered all of it. Oh, and then the capacity. So this was kind of interesting. Um, so I try to look up like what is the capacity for the stadium? What was the attendance? So get this, the capacity that I saw, I think it was Wikipedia, 39,150 people. All right, good amount of baseball stadium, kind of sounds about accurate. Now I looked at the attendance, 46,283. What? All right, I mean, I know it was a good crowd, full crowd, but I don't think it was, you know, 7,000 people extra in that building. I mean, maybe it was. I don't know. And how they exactly, they do it by tickets sold, whatever the case is. One of those numbers may be off. Maybe the capacity is higher than what it said. Maybe the attendance wasn't as much as it said. Who knows? I don't know. But I mean, still is a good amount there. Baseball stadiums, are gonna have a decent amount. They're kind of in between like a hockey arena and a football stadium. Uh, so that was interesting. Yeah, but I did appreciate being able to go catch the game. Our friend Tracy was able to go, and who she had with her too, and she was really big into into the Blue Jays. She says she's gone to a lot of games. Um, really nice. And then we went back to her place. She was nice enough. She gave me and Selena her bed, and then her and her friend were out in the living room on the couch, or they had a sleeping bag, or something. I don't know where they slept. Uh, but and it was just one night. I mean, we got up like super early the next morning to fly back, and we were on. When you have flying benefits, you're on standby. So we were on standby. I think we had like a flight delay or something like that. Um, and so we didn't. Whenever we were going to get out, we didn't quite get out. That time it took us a little while to get out. Yeah. So there's that. But I mean that happens. What can you do? We still got home okay. Just took us longer than it probably we probably could have driven back, because I think it was quite a bit of a delay. Either way, still was fun. I'm glad we got to go, and I look forward to going back to Toronto again to try to catch the Maple Leafs and the Raptors. But I was able to get a Toronto Blue Jays game there, and I get to share my experience with you. If it's something that you feel like you'd like to go experience yourself, let me know. Again, with that, some other ball game or vacation, a cruise specifically, I'm here for you. Feel free to reach out to me at jays dot or start that. Combine it. Jay's Paradise Travels, Jays, no apostrophe. Jay's Paradise Travels. That's going to be either Instagram or Facebook, or j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. You can reach out to me uh, through email as well. I really appreciate that you're listening to this today. Thank you for listening to it. If you did enjoy, if you did like this podcast, please like it. Please share it with others. That's huge. And please subscribe to the channel. All that stuff are things that podcasters need in order to keep their podcast going, as well as myself running a business with it. So I'd like to get my name out there as many people as possible. So again, if you enjoy it, please share it with others, subscribe, like it. Also, please leave a comment if you have anything to say about the podcast itself. Love to hear from you. If you have any experiences yourself with the Toronto Blue Jays, um, maybe you were around back in the when was it, early '90s when they won the World Series with Joe Carter. I can't remember what year that was. I mean, I was a little boy. I wasn't following it, but I do remember it. If that makes any sense. Um, so maybe you have your own experiences with the Toronto Blue Jays that you'd like to share. And feel free to leave a comment about it. Love to read it. So thank you again, and I look forward to talking with you guys later. Take care. Bye bye.